Welcome back, everybody, to Ein Sof Learning. This week's Torah portion is Emor, and it's found in Sefer Vayikra, the book of Leviticus, chapter 21 to 24. And primarily we see that this week's portion deals with many laws and ordinances. For example, we see different laws of the priests. The Kohanim can only marry such and such woman. The priests cannot have any blemishes whenever they're bringing korbanot. There's also many different laws about bringing the korbanot, the sacrifice, process, and also the holidays. Various chagim are mentioned and how to observe them properly. And even the story of someone who curses Hashem and they end up stoning him because he blasphemed the name of Hashem, which we know is against the 10 commandments. Very different, range of events that happened this week's portion, but primarily it's dealing with various laws. Now, on the surface, it seems like these are ancient laws and they pertain to the past, to those people living in that time period, some 3,300 years ago, right? That doesn't have much relevance to us today. But here's the thing. Kabbalah teaches that the Torah is eternal. The wisdom of the Torah applies in every single generation. So even those laws somehow pertain to us. And not just pertain to us in a general way, but in a specific way. And only a person who has the proper guidance and the willpower to learn the application and the relevance of the Parsha will end up finding it and be able to kind of, adjust their life according to the teachings of the Torah. Without the proper guidance and the proper desire to find the relevance, you will not be able to find it. Those are two things that a person needs. They need guidance and they need the willpower to actually discover what it is that this portion is trying to teach me. And not just intellectually, as we're going to learn pretty soon, that all of these laws really have one general purpose behind them. It's to do your tikun. The one reason that we learn Torah, that we do mitzvot, is for the sake of fulfilling our duties, for the sake of serving our due in this world. Everybody has their own tikun, their own rectification for which they were brought into this world to fulfill. In other words, the world is broken and we were brought down here to fix it. Now, how do I know what I'm here to fix? What specifically is it that I'm here to correct? And the best way to find the answer to this question is by looking within. Meaning, observe your own life. Observe your own circumstances. Into what generation were you born? Into what circumstances do you find yourself? What type of a family? What type of struggles? What type of needs do you see around you? Whether it's in your friends, your family, your community, or the world at large. Where are you needed? And on top of that, the question becomes, once I've located where I am needed, how do I fulfill my role? How do I bring the light and fulfill my tikun in those areas? I need the energy and the knowledge and the wisdom and the power to actually do it. It's one thing knowing where I could contribute to the world, and it's another thing knowing how to do it. So where do I get that wisdom? Where do I gain that knowledge and that understanding that can light up the pathway for me so I can not only locate where I am needed, but I am actually able to do what I was brought here to do and rectify those places that I recognize need fixing. So these laws in the portion, in the parasha, is not about history. And it's really a mirror, as we're going to uncover in this class, B'ezrat Hashem, with the help of God, of what's happening inside of each and every one of us in this generation. So in Kabbalah, the whole Torah is about the heart. And I briefly mentioned the whole purpose that we learn, that we serve, that we do what we do in the path of holiness is for the sake of fulfilling the tikun, for fulfilling our mission in this world. But in what area of our life does this mission truly lie? Am I here to fix something in my mind? To help everybody learn something intellectually? Am I here to reveal something in my heart? To spread kindness? Am I here to fix my body? Which means to do something in the world. What area of my life am I here primarily to fix? Mind, heart, or body? Where am I most broken? Ask yourself the question, in what area of my life do I need fixing? To start with, we can all use some more truth. We can all use a correct mindset, correct belief system. So for sure that there is some level of rectification needed in the mind. On top of that, my emotions and my character traits are flawed. So most definitely there is some rectification needed there. Not only because I lack love, but because I lack the attribute of giving love. I have arrogance, I have laziness, whatever other personality traits that you have that are negative, those fall in the category of your heart. And then thirdly, my actions. Most of the time, I don't know how to conduct myself on an actionable level because I don't know the laws of how to conduct myself according to Jewish law, or because for whatever reason I'm unable to do what I know I need to do. There are certain things I know I need to do, but my values are kind of warped, or rather, my internal and my external are not in line with one another. Internally, I desire to do something. I desire to build a company. I desire to essentially go to the gym, achieve this goal, achieve that goal. I want to do things, actions. That's what I want internally, but externally, I don't actually do it. That shows a lack of, in the area of the action, in the area of the body. There's a rectification needed in that area of our life as well. But again, I'll ask the question again, what is the primary level? That is, if we focus on that level, we will be able to rectify the other two areas of our life more easily. And the answer is the heart. The main tikun, the main rectification that we are here to bring lies in our emotions, in our, what we would call character traits, the midot. Everybody has certain midot corresponding to the lower 7 sefirot on the tree of life. The lower 7 dimensions are really character traits. Chesed corresponds to love. To what degree do you experience a love for God, and also to what degree do you express this love to others? Do you love your fellow as you love yourself? That's a basic and fundamental tenet of the Torah. Following chesed, we have gevura, fear of God. To what degree are you, in a sense, afraid of betraying the love that you have with God? You don't want to do something to upset Him. You want to make sure you're not doing anything that you shouldn't be doing. Those are the boundaries and the borders that you draw in your life that you don't cross, which represents the fear or respect that a person has, one, for God, and two, for their fellow human beings. Because those are the two dimensions that we really focus on, our relationship with Hashem, but then there's also the relationship we have with others. And if these two things are not congruent with one another, meaning we love Hashem but we hate people, or we're rude people, but internally we think we love Hashem, that shows an inconsistency. And that means that the love we think we have for Hashem is actually a faulty love. the love that you have for God must be expressed in the way that we treat others. Otherwise, if it's not, it shows that the love that you think you might have for God is actually a false love. It's in your mind. It's an imagined trait because you don't actually have any expression of love for God in His creation. So, those are the two dimensions, primary dimensions, of the 7 Sefirot, Chesed and Gevura, love and fear. And then there's Tiferet, which is having the proper balance between these two attributes, that you don't overly love or overly fear, right? You want to make sure that everything you're doing is balanced in the central column, that you bring people close with your right hand, but you also keep them afar with your left hand whenever necessary. There are certain boundaries that we do need to draw in our relationships, even in our relationship with Hashem. So, in that sense, the Midot of a person become the fundamental, mechanism by which we serve Hashem. It all depends on these character traits. And from these 3, Chesed, Gevura, Tiferet, we have Netzach, Hod, and Yesod, and finally Malchut. I'm not going to describe each of them, but you have the first 3 explained in this video so far. Those are the primary 3 attributes from which all other character traits emerge. Whether a person is arrogant, angry, or caring and loving, all attributes and all personality types depend on the arrangement of these 7 energies and to what degree they're being expressed or withheld. I can express my attribute of chesed by giving charity, by offering words of comfort, by offering words of, love and compassion and kindness. And I can exercise my attribute of gevura, strength or restraint, by saying no whenever I know that I should be saying no. It's one thing to know what the right thing and the wrong thing to do is. It's another thing to have the energy and the courage to actually say no to those things. For example, I know I should not be biting my nails, and yet I do. Why? Because I have a lack of gevura in my life, a lack of boundaries. Or I know I shouldn't be judging people, but when it comes to the moment, I just let go of my rule and I judge them anyway, even though I know it's wrong. That shows a lack of restraint, lack of self-control. And I said it earlier, from these 2 traits comes all of the negative attributes whenever they're imbalanced. If you're imbalanced in the chesed, then you have to overcompensate in the gevura. Or if you're imbalanced in the gevura, you have to overcompensate on the chesed side. And when you overcompensate, that's what causes all of the other malfunctions in your character. In any case, let's relate this to the parsha. The Kohen, the priest, represents the neshama of an individual, specifically the neshama of a Jew. The neshama of a Jew is the part that really is connected to Hashem directly connected to Hashem. And it's that part of you that does not serve yourself. Rather, it wants only to serve Hashem. And it wants only to serve others. It's not looking to receive anything for its own sake. Rather, whatever it does, even if it happens to receive, is for the sake of giving it to another. Giving back to the world, giving back to the community, giving back to their family, giving back to their children, giving back to God. Ultimately, that's what it comes down to. By giving and expressing your attribute of kindness towards the creation of God, you're actually demonstrating your love of God Himself. The love that you have toward God Himself is expressed in the way that we treat the creation of Hashem. So, what do we think about these festivals? We have all of these different festivals, Sukkot, we have Pesach, and we also have Pesach Sheni, we have Shavuot, we have counting of the omer, all of these different festivals and holidays in Judaism, which they stem from the Torah, they're not just old rituals on our calendar. Unfortunately, I see, even for myself, many people though, they go about their observance of the holidays like rituals, meaning that they lose their meaning. It becomes more about the action than it is about the intended consequence of observing the holiday in the first place. The truth is that these holidays represent stages in our own personal growth, from concealment to revelation of that potential that exists within us. So every year we repeat the same holidays because we're going through the same cycle from concealment to revelation. It really begins when you think about what the first holiday of the calendar is, with Nisan. Nisan is when we have Passover, Pesach, coming out of Egypt. That's the way that the year begins. With coming out of Egypt, we're free people. We just came out of Egypt. What does it mean to come out of Egypt? That means that we have been redeemed and rescued from our addictions, from our negative attributes, from our selfish behaviors, from our bad character traits, from our impure thoughts. Whatever Egypt or whatever slavery that you are in, coming out from that slavery, coming out from that Egypt, is really what starts your life. That's the beginning of your life. The moment you leave Egypt is the moment you begin living. Because while you're in Egypt, while you're enslaved, even though you're alive, even though you breathe, you're not really living life. You're constantly trying to survive. You're constantly going up and down because you're enslaved. So being enslaved to a desire, to an addiction, truly prevents you from living. So the very moment that you become redeemed from that addiction, from that slavery, is the same moment your life begins. And that's why Passover is the first holiday, the first, major event of the year, because that's what symbolizes the birth of the Jewish people. We were born at that moment that God decided to bring us out from Egypt. So Passover is breaking free from our ego. And what's the last holiday of the year? It's really Purim. Purim is a holiday of joy, of the arrival of the Messiah. Purim represents redemption, Moshiach, salvation. That's Purim. So it all starts from Passover, when we exit Egypt, and we go through all the motions and the holidays throughout the year, which is about refining ourselves in the desert and going through all of the movements and the motions to changing our heart, so that way we don't slip, God forbid, slip back into Egypt. But we may. And since that's possible that we may slip back into the Egypt, because our heart is still connected to it, even though we were redeemed, but it's easy to take the Jews out of Egypt, but it's hard to take the Egypt out of the Jews. So even though God brought us out of Egypt, even though God saved us from our addiction, it's hard to take the addiction out of us. So sometimes we will slip back, unfortunately. But that's also part of the growth. That's part of the process. So that's why we have all of the following holidays in between Passover, when we come out of Egypt, and Purim, when we're eventually redeemed, to refine the heart. Specifically, in between Passover and Shavuot, which is when we receive the Torah, there is a 49-day period called the counting of the omer, Sefirat HaOmer. The word Sefirat HaOmer literally means the counting of the omer, but Sefirah, counting, comes from the same language as Sefirot, the spiritual faculties that we were just speaking about earlier. Those 7 lower attributes in particular, which represents the character traits. So in between this transitionary period from Passover to Shavuot, when we receive the Torah, we are refining our attributes, all 7 of them. That's why it's 49 days, because 49 days is 7 weeks. Each week, we're refining one of the attributes. And that's why there are 7 days in a week. Because within each of these 7 attributes, there is a further 7 subcategories. So there are 7 sefirot within each of these 7 sefirot, for a total of 49 sefirot. These are the 49 dimensions of our character. Each day, we are focusing on refining a different attribute. Chesed of chesed, chesed of gevura, starts with chesed of chesed. Then the second day is gevura of chesed. Then tiferet of chesed, netzach of chesed, hod of chesed, yesod of chesed, malchut of chesed. That completes the first week of the counting of the omer, when we've refined all of the attributes within our chesed attribute. Love of God, kindness, revelation of compassion. That's all what chesed represents. Giving, outward expansion, the way that we give. It's all about refining all of the details within our attribute of giving. Then the second week is about gevura, restraint, strength. There are 7 dimensions in that area of our character as well. And so on and so forth until we finish all 49 days. So we see that all of these holidays that are spoken about in this week's portion, even though they happened in the past, they are hinting to us how to live today, right now. So the omer count is the daily work of fixing one little part of ourselves at a time. It's all about the heart. Those character traits that we were talking about earlier, those 7 lower attributes, really corresponds to our heart. The heart is the vessel for the light of God. It's the mishkan, it's the tabernacle. Once we build our heart properly and we fulfill this tikun, this rectification for which we explained earlier that we were brought into this world to correct. Once we fix this heart, once we fix this vessel, we will then be able to receive the light of the Shekhinah. The light of the Shekhinah is the presence of God. Who here watching this video wants to receive the presence of God within their heart? Even me saying that right now is making me excited. I want to receive the light of God in my heart. So in order to do that, in order to receive this energy, this closeness, we've got to rectify our vessels. And as I said, Shavuot, which is the culmination of these 49 days, the 50th day, is when we finally feel ready. Once we've finally fixed our heart and we're able to receive the inner Torah, the light of the Torah, which is really the wisdom of giving and the wisdom of love, the wisdom of the Torah. That's what it means to receive the Torah. Shavuot is the day when the Bnei Israel, the children of Israel, received the Torah on Mount Sinai. Specifically, Moses received the Torah and he taught it to the children of Israel. And like we said, Moses represents that aspect of our own psyche. Moses is not a man of the past. Rather, he is a spiritual energy. There's a certain, spiritual element that exists within every Jew. Moses is the refined aspect of the character of a Jew that is able to receive the Torah and understand the Torah. So that's what Shavuot really represents. And even after, when we have Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, the days of repenting and judgment before Hashem, Everybody thinks it's a scary day. In reality, according to Kabbalah, it's a day of joy. It's a day of joy. Because the moment that you see your flaws, while you're doing your teshuvah, you're repenting, you're analyzing your flaws, this is giving you the ability to change. It's giving you the ability to open new doors and become even closer to Hashem. So that's really a blessing. And there's a reason to rejoice over this as well. Yes, it's a very heavy time during Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. It's a period of, in many ways, self-reflection. But the moment that you see your flaws is the moment that the door really changes. Your door in life, the circumstances, the windows of opportunity that are available to you, things begin to change because you begin to change. You've done the work. You've done the inner hard reflection. It's called cheshbon hanefesh, or hitbodedut. You've really meditated and reflected on your own conduct and your own performance throughout the past year. And you've made vows to change certain things in the way you behave and the way you speak and the way you think and the way you feel. By doing this reflection, you're refining yourself. And you become a completely different person. It's not just metaphorically that you become a new person. You literally become a different person. Your soul actually becomes renewed. Your very soul. So, this week, what we can take away from this portion, out of all these laws that are spoken about in the portion, about the festivals and the laws of bringing sacrifices, the question we should ask is, where am I still serving my own ego as opposed to serving Hashem? All of these laws about the sacrifices is about how we can serve Hashem. God asked us very specific details. Bring this type of animal, bring that type of animal. You should separate that stuff, do this on this day, what time, where you should do it, why you should do it, how you should do it, with what intention you should do it. All of the rules and all of the specifics are outlined clearly and detailed in the Torah. But like we said at the beginning, circling back, a person needs the proper guidance and the proper willpower. And when you have these two things, you will be able to see the relevance in all that the Torah has to offer. And the second question we can all ask ourselves, what part of me is ready? It's prepared to become a priest, to become a kohen, a proper servant of Hashem, and start serving others. Because that's what the kohanim do. They're serving all of the people that are coming to atone for their sins. They are the ones conducting the service of the sacrifices. They're serving others. They're serving, yes, Hashem through serving the community. Are we ready to step up to that position for ourselves? Because the real temple, yes, there is a physical temple that we are waiting upon to be built in the city of Jerusalem, which will be established by the Mashiach, son of David. Yes, this is true. It is a physical, literal temple. But on top of that, and perhaps deeper than that, and more important, is the inner temple that each of us are being called upon to establish for ourselves, which lies in the heart of an individual, which once again is defined by our character traits and the way we treat others. So Parashat Emor, after all, after this class, we can now see it's not about laws of the past. It's not a boring list of instructions given to an ancient people. It's a wake-up call right now. So let's make this week about inner work, refinement, tikun, and really focusing on building our own holy temple, which will give us the capacity to receive the light of the Shekhinah inside our own hearts. Shabbat Shalom, and I'll see you in the next class.